Yes. Okay, let's you're on for element 18. Exercise is a gift to yourself.
Okay, let's try this again, everybody. Fun times. And play. All right. Can you guys see that okay? All right, good. So we're going to talk about increased energy expenditure, optimizing cardiovascular health, and then building that strong, healthy support system of bones and muscles and tissue. So we're going to get into that. But remember, last week we talked about NEAT, which is that non-exercise activity thermogenesis. We were creating ways and developing ways to burn an additional 200 to 300 calories a day. And that's great. But we have to remember we have a much higher goal than that, and that is for optimal health. So that's what we're going to cover with our EAT system. So EAT stands for exercise activity thermogenesis. And EAT's going to help us optimize our health through specific, regularly scheduled activity. And I know many of you are thinking, oh, a gym full of muscle puff guys and sweat and plates and all this. Well, I want you to just etch a sketch erase that out of your head, because what we're talking about is a little bit different. We're talking about anything that's planned movement, and that movement has to create more of like a vigorous energy, and that's what it takes to help improve your overall health. It has to be a kind of a vigorous action, okay? And that could be anything from a walking program, could be biking, could be a spin class, could be swimming. Think Brenda Deacon, triathlon. Walk, bike, swim, could be running. If you're interested in becoming a runner, start with walking first. But it's all a gradual process in this system that Dr. A has created for us, and it's such a gift. We could be interested in dancing and maybe take some regularly scheduled dance classes. Those things are going to elevate our heart rate, and then those are the things that help move us into that more vigorous level of exercise. But here's a catch. EAT will take time. And what I mean by that is that that time is going to be designated to maximize your daily commitment, and then that's going to give you the best results in the least amount of time. So you're probably wondering, how much time do I have to do with this? Well, just think 30 minutes a day. 30 minutes, that's it. So why add EAT? Well, it's going to increase your energy expenditure, and that's going to help create that balance of energy in, energy out. Energy in being our food, energy out is the calories we burn to keep our little machine, our body here running. And then we're going to optimize your cardiovascular health, and that's the part of your health. That's your heart, your lungs. We're going to keep the blood vessels delivering oxygen to your cells, to the mitochondria, cells to your brains to your brain for thinking and processing, and just all of this is for healthful overall functioning of your body. The secret to this energy in and energy out thing at the first bullet point is that the more muscle that we have on our bodies, the more energy we need to fuel that muscle. So don't go crazy with this, but what I'm saying is the more muscle you have on your frame, the more food you get to eat. You need more energy in because of the muscle mass. It creates a need for more calories. And then we're also building that strong, healthy support system of our bones, muscles, that connective tissue. And that's going to help us stay active into our aging years. It's going to help with our flexibility, our balance, and then, of course, the main goal of maintaining our weight, a nice, healthy weight. So we have these 3 levels of EAT. And tonight I'm specifically focusing on the walking and fitness program, mostly walking here, because we all do that. Pretty much all of us can walk. The level 2 is going to be the resistance training type things that we'll talk about in depth next Monday. And I will touch on level 3 next week as well, on how to boost that workout level that's going to take you to that more optimal level. But understanding that high intensity training is not something that is regarded as something we would do daily. It would be done more occasionally. And we'll get into that more next week. All right, so before we can move into that next level, we need to understand that we have to create space for optimal health. And that's going to require a bit of a shift in our thinking. So we're going to go back to looking at our habit loop. And when we have our habit loop here in front of us, by thinking about that, it's going to help us create and realize like our future self. So our cue is that alarm goes off. We've scheduled a walk with our friend for 8 a.m. And that's going to start to become our routine. We take that 20 or 30-minute walk. And that instant reward might be that you like to put a gold star on your calendar. But it also might be just how great you feel after you've been out in nature and breathing the fresh air, and you're more energized for your day. And I will tell you that by beginning with your exercise in the morning, we tend to be more calorie burners throughout our day. So creating that morning routine also keeps you from having your day sabotaged by something else that creeps in. So that's just my suggestion, is to carve out time at the beginning of the day for your exercise. And then your reward, your long-term investment reward, is health and well-being well into our aging years. But before we can start, we need to understand a couple of things. Maximum heart rate is super important because we want to start low and slow, is how I put it. And Dr. A encourages us to know and understand what a maximum heart rate is and what our target heart rate is. So here there's an example of how to do that for yourself. So if you have a piece of paper and your pen, you can go ahead and do this right now because it's simple math. You're going to take 220 minus your current age, and that is going to give you your max heart rate. Here for this example, I use the age of 50. So a 50-year-old man or woman, their max heart rate would be, as on average, 170. When we begin an exercise program, we want to stay within 50 to 65% of our max heart rate when we're exercising. So to determine that, we're going to take that max heart rate, as you can see here, and multiply it by 0.50 for 50%, and that equals 85 beats per minute. So that's the bottom end of our target heart rate. And the top end at 65% is 110 beats per minute. So our range is 85 to 110 beats per minute. That's our target heart rate throughout our daily activity. Now, here's the key. How do we measure that? Well, I love technology because we have things like Fitbits, and I don't know, does the Apple Watch calculate your heart rate? It does. Okay, so there's a lot of tools out there, but if you don't have those tools, there is a simple method to do that. One of the ways is to take your index finger and your middle finger and put your thumb right next to them, right next to them. Place your index finger and your middle finger on your radial wrist. So you guys can go ahead and try this right now too if you'd like. You want to use your index finger and your middle finger because your thumb has a pulse in it. Don't use your thumb or you'll have a miscount. And what we recommend is that you count that heart rate for 15 seconds. So you would need your wristwatch or a timer for 15 seconds, and then multiply that number by 4. So for instance, if it was 25, your heart rate would be at 100. Does that make sense to everyone? It's pretty simple, but it can be confusing at times. There's a second place you can take your pulse, and that's also here at the carotid artery at your neck. Now, that being said, the manual way of taking your heart rate also is flawed. And it's flawed because as soon as you stop exercising, where's your heart rate going to go? Straight down. So it starts dropping off very quickly. So it's not really an accurate way to measure it, but it does give you a window. So it's really important to understand how to do that if you're not using technology. And now as you progress, and we're going to talk about progression here in a minute, but as you progress, then we want to begin to aim for 65 to 75%, and then eventually 85% when you're at your optimal health. There's another way to measure this, and this is our rate of perceived exertion. So this is an RPE scale. 1 to 10 is your RPE. And as you can see, 1 is a nothing. You feel fine. 10 is maximal or exhaustion. As you increase your intensity level, we need to remember that these are the basic principles for cardiovascular fitness, is we don't want to push ourselves too fast too soon. So again, slow and low is the best way to go. So if you're unable to carry on a conversation while you're walking with your friend at 8 a.m., then you need to slow down. And then a nice rule of thumb is to keep that rate of perceived exertion, how you sense your body to feel, below a 6. 6 is difficult. And people say, well, how do I progress up if I'm not pushing past that 6, right? Well, we'll talk about that next week a little bit. There's some things that we can do. But right now, let's just focus on creating that little bit of time where we're getting more intense, vigorous exercise and staying below a 6 or below.
Cheryl, there's a question Sarah has asked. Do we need to know our resting heart rate, or is this the low starting end?
So resting heart rate's important when we are in a regular training program. Resting heart rate doesn't really apply directly to getting started in a more vigorous walking program, but I use resting heart rate as a tool to measure overtraining or pushing yourself too hard. So if your resting heart rate is elevated after lying down for 3 minutes, and then you take a pulse and it's well over 72, then we need to look at what we're doing, and most likely you're overtraining. You're not getting enough recovery after your exercise. So you can do one of two things there. You would rest a day or two and then start back into your program at a lower level, and then slowly and gradually increase your intensity level over time. And when I say over time, I'm saying over like a 30-day period, not just in 1 week. Some people will push themselves too quickly too soon. Does that answer the question? Okay, good. So what I'm recommending, or this is Dr. A's words. Okay, it's just the slide, but what he's recommending is that we just start with our 20 minutes. So think of it this way. You're going to warm up for 5 minutes. So in my mind, that means a rate of perceived exertion of 3 or 4, just for the first 5 minutes. Then we're going to go at pace. So what is at pace? Well, it's going to be different for everybody for 10 minutes. So at pace is going to be 4 or 5, probably closer to that 5. And if there's a hill, you might find that you're at a 6, but then you have that plateau. Maybe you're going to be back down to that 4 or 5. But that's your pocket. You kind of want to stay there. And then we need 5 minutes of that cool down where we're back at that level 3 to 2, where it's very relaxed and we're kind of slowing things down, getting our heart rate back down. Then we're going to add 5 minutes of time each week, working up to about 20,000 steps per week. So 5 minutes a week is really a mild amount of time. You can add it in on one day. You could add a minute to each day. It just depends on the individual and their current level of fitness. And then that long-term goal is 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week for 30 days. That's your long-term goal, is getting those 5 days for 30 minutes. And again, my mind's eye is that 5-minute warm-up is kind of happening and overlapping a little bit of those 30 minutes. So 2.5, and then you're starting into 30 minutes and getting that cool down. So I hope this is clear for everybody. So now we're going to jump into any questions anybody has, but I want you to look at your action steps. I really encourage you to go back and read element 18 for yourself. Go through your book. There is a lot of information in there. Lean into your coach with questions. We're all learning together, so there are no wrong questions or dumb questions, if you will. All questions have value. And I see iPhone Melissa has a question. Go ahead, Melissa.
Hi there, can you see me?
I can just see your raised hand. Can you turn on your video?
Yep, wait a minute. Start video, how about now? Yeah?
Yeah. Hi, Melissa. Yeah.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you, hon?
Good, good. I can't see myself, but as long as you can see me, I'm good.
Yeah.
All right, so for those of you that don't know me, first of all, you're doing an amazing job. This chapter I know can be scary for people when you haven't done exercise. And maybe you're coming in on element 1 or 2 and you're brand new and you're going, oh goodness, I didn't know this was coming yet. So just to remind people, we're going to be adding this in as we're able to. And coming from owning a gym for over 20 years, I wish I would have had this program when we owned our gym. Because obviously, when I owned a gym, we had to start people working out from day one. That's how we made an income. And we did believe that physical activity was important from day one. But now, after doing this program and seeing the results that we're getting, which I get better results doing Optavia with people than I did even owning my gym in the past, getting the nutrition, getting the fuelings in, which I wish I would have had all those years in the past, getting our mindset shift in a better space, less inflammation, more energy, feeling more comfortable in our clothes, more comfortable confidence wise. As we all know as coaches, and you guys know as clients, then you become more likely to say, hey, I want to start moving. I want to start doing things. So I'm just so thankful that we have the system that systematically you guys are going. I know Coco might be on there right now, and I know she's, on a journey. One of my clients that's a month in, she's 15 pounds down, and we've been talking, how do I start adding in movement? This is exactly how you start adding it in. And the way that you're describing the intensity level, we all know you go to a gym and you're by yourself and you're trying to figure it out, and you do overexert yourself. You do start doing things before you probably should, and you end up getting injured. So I'm just so thankful that we can lose the weight on the 5-in-1 or even 5-2-2, 4-2-1 without adding an exercise. We can, which is unheard of with most programs. But we know that activity is needed. Our bodies want to start moving, and to have a program that systematically teaches us this is absolutely just unbelievable. So to be honest with you, as a coach, I've never read through this chapter. I'm just being honest. So, I've been doing this program for 2 years, and I haven't physically read through the entire unit. So for those of you that haven't, don't feel shamed. I haven't either as a coach, but just to have the materials there and the support, you guys are in the right place. So thank you for doing this tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you,
Yeah,
Melissa. That is so
awesome.
true. And that's what we want to encourage you, all of you, to do, is to definitely get into those elements. Please don't let this overwhelm you. We're just systematically moving through them, and I'm sure Kelly has a plan for us to cycle back through. But do understand that slow and healthy is the way to go. The chances of you getting a muscular injury are greater than a brain or a heart injury when you start into movement. So that's why we say low and slow. Take it easy. It should be enjoyable so that you want to come back, because when you feel successful, you want to return to that activity, whatever it is, whatever choice you make. And the benefits of those things with lower blood pressure and, decreased LDL and increased HDL, all the good stuff that's going to be happening to your body behind the scenes that you don't even conceptualize, is amazing. So yes, thank you
Cheryl,
so much, Melissa.
Cheryl,
Yes,
I have a question.
yes.
Excuse me. The pages you showed us for element 18, do we have access to those? Because I'm looking at element 18 and it's quite different.
So some of these, the perceived rate of exertion, perceived rate of exertion, I put in there. There was nothing in the element 18, but in Dr. A's, so cross-reference to Dr. A's Habits of Health, and you'll find more in-depth information. You'll find your rate of perceived exertion in here, and it goes into a lot more depth. So the two books together talk with one another. So I would
Okay.
suggest looking in there, but I can tell you that that's in part 2, the EAT system.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I was looking for those pages and I guess you got them from somewhere else. They're not from one area because I looked at both books.
Correct. So in
Okay.
Dr. A's system, things are kind of spread around in the
Okay.
Habits of Health, and they didn't have one pre-made in Optavia, so I made that slide.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome, Bob. So I know we're getting close here, Kelly. Are we past our time? Is it time for us to go?
We have just a little bit, but that's okay. I like the fact that we're able to ask questions and interject here. I do want you to know, though, for those of you that might just be joining us, we have been working with the Life book all the way up through this element, and every call that we have on each element is recorded. So if you'd like the recordings, they're all in one YouTube channel. Please reach out to your coach because they can send you that link. And then if you're only in your second week and you just finished element 1, you can go back and watch those. Those recordings are there for you. We are in talking about exercise, which we do add in later on in the program. But if you're just jumping on, it's always good to know this information up front of what will be added back into your program. So Cheryl, you did a wonderful job. We will continue this element next week. And we just hope to see you all again next Monday night. Have a great night.
Thanks, Kelly.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.